Hey guys! I posted a picture of this pendant I'd made on my Instagram and I got a lot of positive response as well as questions asking how I'd made it. So in this video I'll show you the tools and materials I used, go over the basics, and hopefully the video will provide you with the information you need if this is something you'd like to work with as well. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. The questions or categories I'll go over are: what is it? Where do you buy it and how much does it cost? Tools you need, and the basic process. I'm sorry if this seems like a lot for one video, but I found information from a lot of different places when I tried figuring out the different things I needed to get started, so I wanted to give you all the information in one video. The material is called metal clay, and it's a clay that you shape like any other clay, then let it dry and finally fire it. You can get both silver, gold, bronze and copper clay, and the clay I have here is silver clay by the brand Art Clay. It's composed by silver microns, organic binders and water, and once fired the organic binders burn away and leave you with a piece of 99.9% pure silver. Sterling silver, which a lot of jewelry is made from, is 92.5% silver. The remaining 7.5% of that is usually copper, which makes the metal stronger. This clay will give you almost pure silver, which can be hallmarked fine silver. There are different brands of metal clay, and each brand has different types of clay, and each type has different pros and cons, so I recommend doing some research before you buy it. As an example, the brand PMC, which stands for Precious Metal Clay, has different formulas such as the original formula, which isn't as strong as Art Clay silver, but then they also have a clay which will give you sterling silver, and I think they have one that will give you 90% silver as well, but I'm not completely sure. I bought my clay from metalclay.co.uk, and they also have all the tools you'll need, so it's definitely a site I recommend. If you visit this website, you'll be able to find a list of suppliers in different countries. Not all stores are listed on here, but it might give you an idea of the places you can get it. Now, this is a fairly pricey product, but when you consider the fact that you get 99.9% pure silver from it, I really do think it's a fair price. The most common sized packs for the silver clay are 7, 10, 20 and 50 grams. I've done some research and had a look on different websites to see the prices for the Art Clay silver, and the prices range from around $30 to $40 for a pack of 10 grams. Then when you withcount the shipping, the difference doesn't seem to be too big. You'll need some clay. Now, this clay air dries, so if you don't use up an entire pack at once, you'll need something to store it in. I keep an open pack of clay in this airtight container. Inside the container, I have a couple of baby wipes to keep it moist. I then have 2 foil packs that the clay originally came in, and inside those I have the clay wrapped in cling film. You'll need a surface to work on. I recommend using a non-stick surface such as Teflon sheets. I cut mine into smaller pieces to make them last longer. This is called an ultra clay pick, and this is used for cutting out the clay instead of using an X-Acto knife. And it also works well for making the holes for attaching jump rings or findings. Then there is a pen scriber, which is basically just a needle tool. And you can use this for writing or engraving words and patterns on dry clay before firing it. You'll need a rolling pin and some spacers for rolling out a piece in a uniform thickness. If you don't want to invest in spacers, you can stack regular playing cards or something similar. You'll also need a balm that you can apply to your hands and tools so the clay doesn't stick to it, and you'll need one that's non-flammable and with natural ingredients, so you can't use Vaseline, but the places that sell metal clay will sell something like this as well. I also recommend that you keep water on hand if your clay is getting a bit dry. You can spray on a tiny amount of water to extend the working time. Also keep a small container with water and some brushes nearby. You can use this to help blend pieces of clay, and it can act like a glue to make sure 2 pieces of clay will stick together properly. When the clay is dry, you'll need some files or sandpaper to sand down rough edges or smooth down the surface and stuff like that. I have some needle files as well as some sanding sponges with different grits. If you have any pieces of dry clay from filing or if you made a mistake, don't throw it away. Keep it in a container like this, and you can add small amounts of water to it, then leave it for a couple of hours. The clay will absorb the moisture and you'll be able to reuse the clay. You can also mix in a larger amount of water to create a paste that you can use to glue two pieces of dry clay together, instead of buying the paste that the different brands offer. There are 3 ways you can fire your clay. I'm using the torch. You can use a more fancy version, or you can use these ones that you use for cooking as well. Please make sure to do some research before buying the clay, because some types of metal clay requires a kiln to be fired. If you use a torch like me, you'll also need a firing block. Once the piece is fired, it'll look white, and there are different tools you can use to finish it off depending on the look you want. You can use a brass or steel brush, which will quickly and easily get into all the crevices and leave you with a satin finish. I use a soft brass brush, as this won't scratch the surface too much. Then for getting that mirror-like finish and really bring out the shine, you can use a burnishing tool. Mine is an agate burnisher, but you can also use other things that has a smooth surface, such as a spoon or metal dotting tool. This can't get into all the fine details, so it'll mainly make the raised areas stand out. Another option is fine grit sandpaper or sanding sponges, and use these wet in combination with polishing pads to get a mirror-like surface as well. First you'll need to create a piece. I can't promise if I'll be doing any videos using the clay, as you don't have too long of a working time before it dries. And I'd rather be able to see what I'm doing instead of focusing on getting a good camera angle. When you're done, let it dry completely. You can leave it to air dry, use a hairdryer, or use a couple of other methods. These are described on the instructions that come inside the packs of clay. Make sure your clay is completely dry before firing it, because moisture can cause it to crack or break. The instructions for firing in a kiln are written on this instruction sheet, and I'll put the information for firing with a torch on the screen. When you fire it with the torch, you'll first see some smoke and maybe a small flame when the organic binders burn away. Then wait till the clay starts to glow a light orange or peach color. This is when the temperature is just right and you can start timing. If your clay becomes a darker red, or if you see any shiny spots, it means that it's too hot and the silver is starting to melt. If this happens, just move your torch further away and continue firing. You can underfire a piece, but you can't really overfire it as long as you make sure it doesn't get too hot. You'll be able to find more detailed instructions for each of the steps online, but if you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope this video was helpful.